Oh, I'm just testing. Give me a chance, please. Because I was talking for like 10 minutes before and it was not working. I don't know how many. Okay. All right, let's go. No, it's not working. Okay. Hold on. Is it live? Yes, it's live. Saturday night. So I was talking for like 10 minutes before. All right, everybody. Hi, this is Omar from the American Me podcast. I appreciate your patience with me. I hope everything is okay. Before I start the show, just let me check that everything is okay, that I'm on all the platforms. And I appreciate your patience. And if you want to call on 1-800-811-9419. You could have a discussion on anything you want, anytime, anywhere, anytime. I'm trying to make it like a call-in show. But let's hope, man. Let me just check with this again. Yes. All right. Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to do it one more time. Then I'm going to leave you alone. Okay, ready? Let's hope it's on. I know. You're like, Omar. Yeah, I know you guys. I know we live in the age of hurry it up. And if you don't hurry it up, then it's not a good idea. I don't see the live video. Where is it? Huh? All right. Is this live? It's not live. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to have to do this all over again. Content. Okay. Okay, content. Okay. Yeah, this is it. It has to be it. Anyway, we're having a good day today. It's a beautiful, beautiful day in New York City. We're waiting for the next tonight. They're gonna give it up, I guess. I don't think they're gonna win. They don't have a chance in high heaven, whatever you want to say, or in high hell to win. They're a good team, but they're never a good team. Those Indiana Pacers they are a fast moving team. And they are been what they do is they get you tired running from one side to another of the what do you call it? Yep, that's it. See, now it worked. You know what? I don't care. I don't care. Anyway, let me just start my show. I ain't gonna waste time here with this garbage. Okay. All right. Everything is good. I'm doing fine. Like every day, we're going to discuss many things that we have to discuss. We're going to have to discuss Gaza all the time because we have to. If we don't do it, if we don't use these opportunities to do it, who's going to do it? Because our governments are not doing it. Nobody is doing it. You understand? So I don't see anybody there. Hold on. Let me just make sure one more time. We're gonna have to discuss Gaza all the time because we have to. If you don't, all right, we're live anyway. Whoever wants to watch us, we're here. Who doesn't want to watch us is okay. But I just don't see it, man. Hold on. I don't want to waste a whole hour talking to myself. I'm hoping that we're gonna be talking to people that we love. Okay, live. Yep, there you go. Okay. No, hold on. Oh man, I should never have done this. This happens to me all the time. Trust me. I switched to OBS. I thought, oh, it was going to be a much easier things to do. Then there we go. And we're going through the same problem that we always go through. Let me see. Yes. All right. Anyway, we're gonna have to talk. The New York Knicks is gonna play tonight in the Garden. I'm a New York Knicks fan. I mean, you saw. You know what? Sometimes I'm glad they're not gonna win because they burned down the city. New Yorkers are crazy. You saw when they beat the Celtics. It was not even the second stage of the playoff, and they're already ripping up the city. Got on pause. Imagine if they win. But the good thing is there's no violence. There was no violence. That's a good thing. Anyway, let's start talking. Last night, I was thinking about what I'm going to talk about for the viewers that are watching concerning Zionism and Palestine and Gaza and how evil Zionism is even against Jews. I'm going to give you an example that Zionism hates Jews. Zionism is an anti-Semitic movement. It thrives on anti-Semitism. You're going to ask me, Omar, what are you talking about? what they do is they create an environment of anti-Semitism in a country just to get Jews to be scared and afraid to move to Israel. They've been doing that from 1948. I'm going to give you great examples. In 1948, when Israel declared independence, they only had 600,000 Ashkenazi Jews. Those are European Jews who came from Europe, claimed to have lineage to that land, which they are not. They are from Ukraine. Anyway, so they needed the Arab Jews. The Arab Jews had lived in Morocco, in Yemen, where I'm from, in Egypt, in Iraq, lived normal life, middle class. They are teachers, they are scholars, they are merchants. They lived no problem. The whole idea is that according to Islamic law, the Jews and the Christian dhimmis, what that means is that they're minorities. That means they have a lot of rights and protection from the majority. A lot of people don't know that. So what the Zionists did in order to get these Arab Jews into Israel, they did a lot of crazy stuff. The first thing they do, they were bombing in Iraq. They were bombing neighborhoods, synagogues. I'm serious. There were synagogues, movie theaters, every day bombing and bombing until they scared out those people to go to Israel. They did the same thing in Egypt. In Egypt, there's something called the Livon, Lavon affair. The Livon affair was a Mossad operation that was done, listen to this, not against Jews in Egypt, but against American targets in Egypt in order to create an animosity between Egypt and the United States. I'm talking about the 1950s when the United States was still a sovereign nation when it comes to Israel. There was a sovereign nation. They had their own, they had their own policies, and they were not bought and paid for by AIPAC. So what they did is they were bombing movie theaters, even Jews movie theaters where Jews go to, country clubs where people gather, synagogue, anything they could get there. They were bombing places, and they didn't care if they get killed. The whole idea was to get the Jews to move from Arab countries to Israel in order to become a state, because a state that doesn't have a population cannot be a state. In the beginning, according to Israeli historians, they didn't want the Arab Jews. They were afraid of them. Because they were so culturally immersed with Arab and Muslim culture. They were called Arab Jews. You understand? So they were not called Jews by themselves. They were Muslims, Arab Jews, and Arab Christians. So that means they were part of this nation, part of the country that they lived in, and they had rights. They were not 100% good. I mean, nobody has any good rights in the Arab world. You know, dictators, kings, monarchs. You know, these crazy form of governments they have there. But I'm gonna allude you to something. It's called the most disgusting part of the Zionist legacy with Arabs, Jews. The Jews from Yemen, where I'm from, when they came to Israel in 1948 in Operation Magic Carpet, whatever it was called, as soon as they got to Israel, the Ashkenazi Jews were embarrassed by the way they looked. They had the head things, you know, that thing that got around their head. I don't know what it's called. And they dressed different. They looked like Yemenis, and I thought they come from a poor country, so they were not dressed. They don't look too full or healthy. They were dark skinned because where they came from. There is something called that I want you to look at. It's called the Children Affair, the Yemeni Children Affair. What these evil Zionists did was they stole their children, their babies. Up to 2,000 to 3,000 Yemeni children disappeared as soon as they got to Israel. They will take them away, and they will say that they died. They will go to the parents, they died. They will show them no body, no birth, death certificates. Those children were adopted by Ashkenazi European Jews. They wanted to Europeanize them. So in order to Europeanize the Yemeni diaspora that came to Israel, they stole their children. It is a big scandal that it took 30 to 40 years for the government of Israel to apologize to the Yemeni Jewish community in Israel. You know? And I'm not just making this stuff up. This is true, and this is facts. You know? So once they imagine you just started the state as a safe haven for Jews. That's what it was supposed to be. We've just been, according to the, because I don't believe anything no more from World War II. I really don't. I don't want to sound like a revisionist, but when I saw the lies, they lied on October 7th and they continue to lie. They lie with impunity and they make up big lies. I mean, lies that are provable. So I have a lot of second thoughts on a lot of things that happen in Europe. I don't want to say it. It's not my place to say it. You know, I'm not a historian or anything of that nature. But from the behavior of the Zionists in Gaza, I can tell you 100% that a lot of stuff were made up after the war. A matter of fact, let me go back to the children. These children were kidnapped or stolen or whatever you want to call it from Yemeni Jews who just migrated from Yemen. Their parents were told that these children died. They just died of fever, whatever it is. They lied to them. And those Yemeni families, they like, well, I guess they did, They giving us food, they giving us clothes. They must be telling the truth. Then years later, they started questioning these things when these kids grew up. And they had this long investigation and apology, wherever. That's why I wanted to tell you. If the Zionists are willing to blow up country club, synagogues in Egypt and Iraq, steal and kidnap Jewish children from families that they don't see that they look like them, because the Ashkenazis are racist by nature. They are racist against the other Jews in Israel. Even the way the government is, you see the government is in the hands of the Ashkenazis. And it's so crazy. If you spell the word Ashkenazi, the word Nazi is in the end. It's so fucking crazy. Look at it. Ashkenazis. So in Egypt, the way the population is made up is they are the European Jews who consider themselves the elites or the high class Jews. And there are the Arabs, and then there are the Persians and all that stuff. They consider themselves as second-class Jews. There's a lot of racism, believe it or not, in Israel against these groups of Jews who are Jews but are of Arab. I don't know if somebody's writing. I can't see the comments section over there because it's so far away. But let's just hold whatever you wrote, my friend. I'll respond to it later. If you want to do, just call, man. Just call. Just call right now. I'm waiting for anybody to call. You understand? So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of racism inside Israel as of now against Arab Jews. Even the Marazi, I don't know how to pronounce these names they gave them. What they did is, according to a Jewish scholar, is they de-Arabized them. What they did is they feared the Arab culture that these people had because they were considered Arabs in nature. Because Jews is not a nationality. Jewish is a faith, is a religion. Jews have no nationality. Forget about this Israel made up. Even Israel is not a nation. Israel is the name of Jacob, the prophet, who actually got the name by wrestling with God all night until God couldn't give up, and he called him Israel because he beat him in wrestling. I don't know, that's why the Old Testament, if I was a Christian, I'd get rid of the Old Testament right away and just keep the New Testament. I mean, honestly. So, to put it, I'm jumping from place to place. Jews are a faith. It's a faith. It's a religious belief. Jews are part of the nations that they live in. If they're in America, they're American Jews. If they're in Britain, they are British Jews. If they're in Yemen, they are Yemeni Jews, like they are Yemeni Arabs, like they are like the Yemeni Muslims, like the Yemeni Christian. Because Islam is not an ethnicity. Islam is a faith. The person who believes in it is the ethnicity. So if I was a Yemeni and I decided to convert to Christianity, I am a Yemeni Christian. My faith will be a Christian, but my ethnicity will still be a Yemeni or an American Christian. You understand what I'm saying here? So, what the Zionists wanted to do, they wanted to create a nationality from a group that has no, they wanted to create a nationality or an ethnicity from a faith. You understand? I hope I'm making sense. I mean, I'm not very good at explaining things. For example, what did the Zionists do? There was no Hebrew. There's no such thing as a Hebrew language. That language is all made up. They were made up. It was made up by a guy from Lithuania, because Hebrew is a dead language. Because the Bible is written in Aramaic, right? The reason the Bible, the Old Testament was, and the New Testament was written in Aramaic is because the Hebrew, or the language of the early Jews, the Hebrew, died. Because it was old. It was an old, 5,000, 4,000, 3,000. So they needed a language. So what they did is they made up all these gibberish words, and some of the words are related to the Arabic language. You understand? That's the first thing, right? They need to create that because you cannot have a new nationality without a language to be part of. See how smart the Zionists are? They are very, very smart, and they pulled it off. And they don't have a constitution. Israel doesn't have a constitution. The reason that Israel doesn't have a constitution, because with a constitution, they will have to have borders. They don't have no borders, official borders. Israel right now doesn't have any official borders. The reason for that is because it believes that that's not their national borders as it is. They want to expand to greater Israel. And the second reason they don't have a constitution is because they will have to give complete rights to the Palestinian Arabs who are living inside proper Israel. I'm not talking about the West Bank or Gaza. I'm talking about what is called the Arab Jews, or the Israeli Arabs. They call it Israeli Arabs. They're Palestinians, but according to Israeli laws, they're Arabs. So they have Jewish citizenship, but they still, they say they like to show off when they go on TV. Oh, we have 20% of our populations are Arabs. So we're not a discrimination. No, they just did a law. The law said that Israel is an ethno state. It only belongs to the Jews. Imagine telling that. Just imagine in the United States, if Congress said America is only a Christian country. All these minorities, the Jews, everybody will go crazy. This is the racism. This is un-American. Why? But you get to do what you want in Israel. You get to declare an ethno state that belongs to the Jews and only for the Jews. But the United States, you are the most liberal, most multiculturalism. I get to that one day and explain to you why all this multiculturalism, the sexual revolution, the LGBT agenda, the civil rights movement, they were created for a purpose to serve our cousins, the Jews. Anyway, so in Israel, they don't have a constitution. They don't have a constitution. All those laws are all just common laws from the British. And I laugh when they have when the Palestinians sue and they take it to the Supreme Court. On what basis do you have a Supreme Court? On what basis does the case goes up to the Supreme Court if you don't have a ceiling that is a state constitution? Like in America, we have a constitution. Our constitution, what it does is it protects all of us. For example, if something happens to me and I sue, and the lower court doesn't get it right, I go to the appellate court. I go to a lot of stages until I get to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court's duty is to use the ceiling that is the United States Constitution, because every state has its own constitution as long as within the framework of the United States Constitution. But in Israel, you don't have that constitution. You don't have it. So when Jews take Arab neighborhoods in East Jerusalem, and those poor Arabs, they sue, and they go through the courts, and they go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court say, no, it's okay to take those neighborhoods. And what? You don't have a constitution. So the myth, this is why I call it, is a made up country. Every prime minister from the founding Ben Gurion changed their names from their ethnic names, because most of them had East European names, like Lewinsky, Kakuski, Pakuski, Tukuski, whatever you want to call them. I don't know what the fuck going on. They changed their name to sound more Israeli or Jews, or to give them make it easier, or make it more not ethnicity, to hide their ethnicity. Because if you call them by their real name, like for example Netanyahu, that's not his real name. His name is Mikulski or something like that. That's not his real name. He just made up that name out of thin air. Well, I'm Netanyahu. You understand? Are you with me here? That's what I'm trying to say. So Zionists bombed Jewish Arab neighborhoods in all the Arab countries to scare the Jews to migrate to Israel, right? So we got that right? We agree on that so far, right? Second, the Zionists, the Zionists created a state. No, wait a minute. What am I? I'm trying to fix this. I'm telling you know when you're trying to do something because the Zionists stole Yemenite Jews' babies to the tune of 2,000 to 3,000 babies under the guise of racism. Because when they saw those Jews, they don't look like us. We're European, we got blue eyes, we got green eyes, because you're not from that region. You're not. You're not. That's why the highest skin cancer in the world is in Israel, because you don't belong in that region. Those Arab Jews, they belong in the region. Any Jew that is of Arab descent that was born in Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, Morocco, any Arab country belongs in the region and has every right that I have if I was living there. Let's put it out there. So when the Yemeni Jews came to Israel, they don't look like us. They hid them. They cut off their, I don't know what do you call those things, those bread, what is it, bread? Dreads, whatever it's called in English. The braids they have around the front. I don't know what it's called, and I apologize if I'm misstating it. They cut them off. So when they go on TV, they will look. They wash them off. They change them. They even use, listen to this, a lot of these children from Yemen or these people had like lice or things in their heads or things or diseases or the worms. Or they experimented with them with, I forgot, with radiation. They use I read this whole thing, but my memory, you can look it up. I'm not lying to you. So if these Zionists, Nazis, that's what their name is. I just saw it. It's all right there in front of us. Just take the word Ashkenazi and break it in half. If you Nazis, Nazi, is spelled exactly like that. They see these Arabs as equal to them. Even until today, the power structure in Israel is Ashkenazis. All the prime ministers are Ashkenazis, all the people in the high places. Even Netanyahu, there's a brigade called the Golani Brigade. It's supposed to be one of the elites. It used to be part of the Irgun, the terrorist organization before Israel. One time he told a reporter, he said, the Golani is our best, especially when we have a white Jew as their commander. Racist, they are racist. Anyway, the national anthem is stolen. It's a Romanian folk song that they took the lyrics and the music there and they just added their words to it. Everything in Israel is not real. We should call it is not real. Is not real. Anyway, so you went there. Anyway, so we had this, let me see, do I have one more thing? Yes. On Gaza, this is very important. On Gaza, this is very, very important. There are two things that were found on the offshore of Gaza, two fields of liquid gas. In 1999, the first one was right off Gaza, 26 miles off Gaza. It was founded in 1999. It has more than 1 trillion cubic of gas. But Israel didn't let nobody develop it. Then there's a second field that is on the border between Israel and Gaza. If there was a Palestinian state, you could say they could split it half and half or whatever according to that area. They are stealing the gas until today and using that money to kill the Palestinian, buy bombs to kill them with their own national resources. Anyway, let's get to the show, everybody. Let's start with Jordan Peterson. You know who Jordan Peterson is, right? Oh, gosh. Jordan Peterson. You see? I always do that. Okay. Okay. Jordan Peterson went on a show called Jubilee. I'm going to go to the interview with Piers Morgan. It's very beautiful. Hang on to it. But Jordan Peterson, who self-proclaimed, who uses the idea that he's a Christian, wink, wink, not to use Christians to sell tickets and to buy his book. But he went on a show with kids. It's called Jubilee. It's a YouTube channel where the title was "One Christian Against 20 Atheists," and it did not go well. These kids decimated this idiot and showed him and exposed him for what he is. Let's just look at this video, and I have another video. Then we're gonna get to our other what's his name? Piers Morgan interview with the Israeli ambassador. Now let's watch this.
So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
Person, do you believe in God? It's very simple. What do you mean believe? It's like the Douglas Murray when he went on Joe Rogan. He said, "Have you been there?" This month is not these idiots' month. Do you know who I am? I'm Jordan Peterson, who sacrificed a fucking mundane career in Canada. He was making no money at all. Now he's a multimillionaire running around as a phony psychologist, writing books on how to improve your life, and wrote a book on 12 steps to success, whatever it was called, while he was addicted to painkillers. And he almost died from them. He had to go to Russia. He was in a coma. I don't know. Like, the question is, he's the German in this story. He's the German. Is he willing to save Jewish lives if he was in Nazi Germany? He says, "I will not put myself in that position." But you're the German. You are in that position. The Jews should have not put themselves in the position. They could have migrated before they started, or they could have, or they could have did something to get away, or they could have felt that the things were changing in Germany and they had to leave. But the question is, you're the German in the story. We don't understand what Jordan Peterson is trying to tell us. He would have been a Nazi. If he's unable to answer such a question, I will lie to protect the Jewish family. I will hide them from the Nazis. Even if I know what was going to happen in Gaza, like if I had a foresight. Even now, I would lie to protect any family, any people. It's just human nature. I mean, you cannot be such an evil person that you're going to hate everybody. You understand? You could hate certain like governments, military people who have monopoly on violence, but people are people at the end of the day. So in this hyperbolic idea, he's the German. So when he says, "I will do everything I can not to put myself in that position," what do you say? Well, I'm going to start whistling away, pretending that the Jewish family is not there to protect them. So you understand? So he got, there's a lot. It's the most beautiful thing to happen to a grifter. He will not even admit he's a Christian. He's like, "What do you mean by that?" I'm going to show another shorter video. He doesn't want to admit he's a Christian. So why are you lying to Christians and using their money and selling them tickets to your shows under the pretext that you believe in the Bible? Oh, man.
So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion?
All right. That was one part of it. It was a nice show. And I'll have to try to get for you. You know what? I'm just gonna go to my video because my eyesight is that of a blind man. So let me just get to my show. We're gonna watch today Piers Morgan. Let me get this right. Piers Morgan has spent about 18 months denying there's a genocide in Gaza. And you remember for almost a whole year, every time a guest will come on his guest show, do you condemn Hamas? Do you compare? As soon as they walk in, he doesn't give them an opportunity to talk, as that was a test for him to be able to debate them. As soon as they say no, or they say, well, I mean, what do you mean? They wanna expand on it. You understand? And he still will do it. Anyway, let me see. You see, I hate when this. I hate when I do this. I hate when I do this. Okay, come on, man. Hold on. Damn, this candy's killing my hand, man. All right, so I told you that Piers Morgan, he has a show, and he shot the fame after the October 7 when he had Yusuf Bassam, or Bassam Yusuf. I don't know his exact name, but when he had him, he exploded into fame, and people started knowing who he is. What's going on over here? Okay, what's going on? Okay, okay, what happened? Okay, gallery, home. Okay, hold on. Let me go to video. Come on, man, what are you doing? Video. Okay, and here she goes. She's my love.
But you said there were 50,000 Hamas. Others have put the total figure at around 25,000, which begs the question, if after 18, 19 months now, you have been waging this ferocious war.
All right, here we go. This is an interview by Piers Morgan on the Piers Morgan show on YouTube. Like I told you before this, that Piers Morgan has spent 18 months or 17 months denying that there's a genocide in Gaza. Everybody who comes in the show, scholars, debaters, and he still say, I'm not there yet. Now, he could have been there about 5,000 when first 5,000 children got killed. He could have been there when 7,000 children were killed. He could have gotten there when there was 10,000 children dead. He could have gotten there when there was 12,000 children dead. Piers Morgan could have got there when there was 15,000 dead children. Piers Morgan could have got there when there was 17,000. It took 17,000, now 20,000, almost 20,000 children to be murdered in cold blood between the age of 5 to 9 by the Israeli military in Gaza, for Piers Morgan to come to the conclusion that there is a genocide in Gaza. And it's a shame that took so long. But like people say, we need him, and we need his voice, and we need his platform. So it's better late than never. And those months, whether he was using his conscience, whether he was honest, because he just became independent. His show was not his. His show was part of the network called Talk. It's an English platform. So he went on his own show. He's independent. Maybe that's it. Now he saw the money's coming in, and he's making a lot of money, and he doesn't need the middleman or the gatekeepers anymore. Or he probably gave up on the idea he's going to ever become on a public TV in London or anything, and he didn't want to ruin that. He just conscience. Sometimes conscience just hits you. I mean, you cannot betray humans, man. Human dignity or the human misery. Trust me, I'm a good human being. If I see a child hurt or anything like that, I become very, very upset and very, very tired. Anyway, let's see the interview here. Okay, let me see if I can get it. I don't know. They're just going to give you a little. Oh, there you go. There's the lady. They should have gave us some Zambique, you know? You know Zambique? Okay, you see? Yes. Here we go. This is the British ambassador to England, and she was on his program about 2 days ago, and he destroyed her. Sorry for the way, because I changed the monitors. I don't have no time to redo them again, the way it looks. But let's just watch the interview and enjoy the interview and see how Piers Morgan dismantles her and actually become a reporter once in his lifetime. You know, he did this one time about 6 months ago, and then he just laid off. He probably got a phone call from Netanyahu. Let's see. Ready? Okay.
Against 25, 26,000 terrorists, and you still haven't defeated them, your strategy is failing. How many children have you killed?
Piers, Israel is not killing children. Israel is not killing children. Hamas is using them as human
Israel is killing children every single day. And what you're trying to do is be very weaselly with your words.
No, I'm not.
The truth is, you are killing a lot of children. You would argue you're
doing. You know why it's caused?
Hang on, let me finish.
Hamas is using them as human shields, and you know that.
Let me finish my question to you. You are killing a lot of children on a daily basis. That is indisputable. My interesting question for you is, how come you know exactly how many Hamas terrorists you've killed, but you have no idea how many children you've killed? Several key points in the war on Hamas. Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert has denied that Israel would kill civilians deliberately and denied the charge of war crimes. He now says this.
The statements made by Israeli cabinet ministers, the leading cabinet ministers, that say we should starve Gaza. What is it if not a war crime? I mean, how can a serious person...
Don't give these guys any cookies. When he was prime minister in 2014, he killed about 2,000 Palestinians and 500 children in Gaza. They're all criminals. It's just he was arrested, put in jail. Now, I don't know, people grow conscious. Maybe he's about to meet his maker, and he grew up conscious. So they're not angels.
Representing the Israeli government can spell it out in such an explicit manner that we should starve Gaza, that there should be no supply of basic fundamental humanitarian needs to a couple of million people living there. They are terrorists that we need to fight, but this is not a war against Hamas. This looks more and more like a political war of the Israeli Prime Minister and the cabinet and the group of thugs which are now representing the Israeli government inside Israel and across the world are committing actions which can't be interpreted in any other way.
Well, Olmert also said, and I quote, the government of Israel is currently waging a war without purpose, without goals or clear planning, and with no chances of success. Meanwhile, Ehud Barak, another former prime minister and former IDF chief of staff, says the war is now purely for Netanyahu self-preservation. Yair Golan, an opposition voice and a former army deputy chief of staff, said Israel is, quotes, killing babies as a pastime, close quotes, and risks becoming a pariah state. These aren't radical Islamists or raging anti-Semites, but patriotic Israelis who think their country is losing the plot. Today, Israel announced that they've eliminated Hamas's chief in Gaza, Mohammed Sinwar, the younger brother of Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind behind the deadly attacks on October the 7th. That was seen as a huge win by Israel as they looked to justify the continued fighting. But how many innocent Palestinians are losing their lives as a consequence? Overnight, we saw more shocking scenes in Gaza as thousands of Palestinians overran an aid site run by a US and Israeli-backed group with the intention of taking control of food distribution away from the UN. Many experts believe that swathes of Gaza face imminent famine caused by an 11-week Israeli...
What they do, and I'm telling you, they're taking biometric photos of these men, and they will keep them as on record, and then they could probably put stuff on the food, then they will go to kill them later. You'll see this. You're going to find this out later. This is how they think. This is how they think. They're just trying to see how many men are left.
Blockade, which is only now beginning to ease. How much longer can all this go on? Well, I'm joined by Israeli Ambassador to the UK, Zippy Hotoveli. Ambassador, welcome back to Uncensored.
Good evening, Piers.
Incredibly damning comments from two former prime ministers of Israel and a former deputy chief of staff of the Israeli army. When you hear what they have to say, surely it gives you pause for thought, doesn't it?
Well, it's quite obvious for someone like you that understands politics that those people are coming from the opposition. Their job, in their opinion, is to fight whatever the government is doing. I think it's very anti-patriotic not to support Israel's war when we are fighting the most justified war in the world against a terror group that committed the worst atrocities at the 7th of October. Just today, we remember 600 days that we still have 58 hostages in captivity. And I'm afraid to say, nowadays in Israel, you can't find even one leader that will say he's willing to live with Hamas on its doorstep. So if those people have any criticism, they should offer a plan how Hamas will be removed from the Gaza Strip.
See, this is in media. So when you watch a media, every time they have the guest and they're going to question, they let him go off. They give him like 3-4 minutes just to take a shit, go ahead, have diarrhea of the mouth, let him get his stuff through, his talking points. Then if there's a reporter, then you take over the conversation. Right now, he's just letting her have diarrhea of the mouth. Let her just talk how good she is, how Hamas is bad.
Controlling the doorstep of Israel, not committing the 7th of October again. I didn't get to hear that, not from European leaders that are criticizing Israel, and not from those opposition former leaders. So I must say that in the end of the day, Israel has a serious threat on its security. You will agree with that. No one wants to see people being massacred in their homes like we've seen at the 7th of October. And in order to do that, the aims of the war are still relevant. We want to bring back our hostages, and we want to make sure Hamas won't control the Gaza Strip. Every leader in the
She's British, and she speaks fluent English, and she'll still try to act. She's part of the group, Hamas. She could say Hamas. Anybody could say the H word. But this is how phony and fake they are, these people. Everything they say is a lie. I swear to God. I swear to God, man. Everything I read in history in World War II, I don't believe no more. I don't. Because when I saw how outrageous their lies are after October 7th, it's so outrageous and unreal, unrealistic, and mind-boggling. Why would I believe what they said 50, 60, 70 years ago happened? A lot of people died in World War II. Bengalis in India, 3 million Bengalis died of starvation because Churchill took away their food stock because someone fell into the hand of the Japanese, and they starved to death in 1 year in 1943. You don't see us, they turned them into soap. I don't believe you no more. I don't. I'm sorry.
World, in the Western world, agrees
on those
I just
don't believe it, man. It's lies.
You and I have spoken regularly or on a number of occasions throughout this war. I've always said from the start, as you know, that Israel had an absolute right and indeed duty to its people to defend itself after those appalling attacks. And my position about that hasn't changed. But I also kept asking one question, which was, what is a proportionate response?
Yeah.
And I've got to tell you that in the last few weeks, I have found the Israeli government strategy in Gaza to be utterly disproportionate. And I'll explain to you why. When you launch a blockade for nearly 3 months to a population which already has seen much of their possessions, their land, their buildings, their homes decimated by bombardment after bombardment, when you say that you're going to launch a blockade on aid and food to a population where 50% are under 18, you are pursuing, it seems to me, as Ehud Olmert said, a policy of starvation towards, obviously, because of the nature of the population in Gaza, of a lot of children. And that is a war crime. I mean, what else do you call it?
I think when you look at the facts, and you should look at the facts, letting in 25,000 trucks with tons of aid, this is not a policy of starvation. Now,
There's no fucking 25,000 truck, you fat. Maybe those 25 trucks went to your house. See how fat you look? That's where those trucks went. 25,000 trucks. People, this is the lie. Look at, that's too big of a lie. She could say 500 trucks, 1,000, 25,000, she said. Why do you lie like that? It makes you look real bad, and it shows your truth is in your true colors that you are an evil people. The Zionists I'm talking about. Let's get it right here. The Zionists.
Let me tell you what was Israel's policy from the beginning of the war. From the beginning of the war, we created a very clear distinction between the terrorists. We're talking about 50,000 people that embedded themselves in population, as you know. Just now, you just mentioned Mohammed Sinwar He was found under a hospital, under the European hospital. He was hiding there because he knows exactly how the world reacts when Israel attacks hospitals. But those hospitals being abused and being used as a terror facilities. This is why Israel is allowed to operate there. Now, I'm going back to the policy of aid. In the last few days, as you know, Israel is launching a new program, a new mechanism to deliver aid because, unfortunately, and I'm saying that with a
I told you in the last video, the last show, that this aid is nothing but a con. It is a hustle to try to get the Palestinian to lure them with food. Like, you know, you do mouse. These people are evil. They make them walk 9 miles to get a box of food at the border of the Egyptian border. They're trying to get them out of the wreckage from northern Gaza, from western Gaza. They are trying to get rid of them or put them in small places, like small groups, and get rid of them. You will see there's more evil to come. You haven't seen nothing yet, my friends. Hold on. Let me just finish this.
Big pain. Hamas was looting the aid that all the world wanted to be let into Gaza. Now, everyone is interested that the population won't be starving. We don't want to see pictures of children that don't have something to eat. We all share the same interest. But at the same time, if Hamas is looting the aid, then we are empowering the war machine. And according to the international law, no country in the world has obligation to feed the war machine of the enemy. And this is what happened in the last few months. This is why Israel had to change the mechanism. This is why
When the United States invaded Afghanistan, we parachuted food to the Afghani people. That's what countries do with fucking... The United States, in an evil war against the Afghan people, we found it that we had to feed the population, and we parachuted peanut butter and jelly and things like that with high calories so we could keep the population not to starve to death because of the war. Do you see the difference between real nations with real people and these phony and fake parasites?
Companies are involved, so we'll have a buffer. We won't have to see Israeli soldiers combating Hamas while they're trying to loot the aid.
So Israeli soldiers wearing women's clothes, they were, lingerie, they were playing with the kids. The people they killed and the women and the children, they wearing the women lingerie. You saw it. We saw it on Telegram. These people are fucking evil. They're riding the kids' bicycles. They're laughing and joking. Even now, they have a chant in Israel that all the children in Gaza are dead. There are no more schools. The Arabs are dead. The children in Gaza are no more. These people are pure evil, and they are the most dangerous country to the United States. You will see, maybe in my lifetime, I don't know when, but I don't think it's going to end well for us with these people. When I say us, the United States and Western countries, we put a parasite in the Middle East.
The whole procedure is much more effective, and just in the last few days, we saw Hamas putting barriers for the population not to receive this aid. This is the same Hamas that uses its own people as human shields. So we are talking about situation that's very difficult, very complicated. Yeah, right. Once Israel is fighting the Hamas terrorists, we still want aid to get in. And the mechanism, I believe, that Israel is putting now forward is so much.
See, Piers Morgan is smart. He let her not talk. He's going to attack her. He's going to dismantle her. But he knows it's a sensitive subject, and it's a strong, formidable people to go after. So you let him talk, so they won't say, "Oh, he's cutting her off. Look at, he was cutting her off." He did the best thing he ever did in his whole life. Thank you, Piers Morgan.
Better than the one that, in the end of the day, is empowering Hamas.
The end of the day,
the problem is that whilst you're saying all this and trying to justify it, you've got people like Smodrich coming out and making it absolutely crystal clear what the real plan is, which is to
That's the Prime Minister of Finance.
completely clean out Gaza of all the Palestinians and get them into, quotes, a third country. That is a form of genocide. It is the deliberate targeting of people based on ethnicity and displacing them from their homes and killing a lot of them in the process. I don't know what else you would call it. I've resisted using the word genocide about this, but when I watched what Mr. Smodrich was saying and studied the exact words that he said, it is very hard to reach any other conclusion than that he is waging a strategy of genocide and would like to cleanse, as he put it, the whole Gaza Strip of all the Palestinians. So you can try and dress up that blockade, which is what it was for 3 months, where we saw the starving children you say you're concerned about, but you've got Smotrich there actually laying bare the real plan, which is to get all the Palestinians out of Gaza. And that is a form of genocide, isn't it? What else do you call it?
Well, let's begin with the fact that if you listen to the British media, you get the assumption that Smotrich is the Israeli prime minister. Well, he's not. He's not the one who's forming the policy on aid. And the policy you just quoted is actually...
So is he a liar?
He's him and Ben Gvir, the two nasty criminals. Netanyahu is not an ideologue. Netanyahu is an opportunist and a piece of shit. These guys are evil Messianic Jews who believe that they have to destroy the Arab and build the third temple. They are the ones that are pushing Netanyahu, because if they leave his government, his government collapse and he has to go to jail under corruption charges. Every child that's being killed right now in Gaza is being killed for the sake that Netanyahu doesn't have to face the trial he has to face for corruption charges that happened about 10 years ago. Get it over with. Save the kids. Put that man in jail and let the kids live.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that his policy, his
Well, either he's
statements
lying or he's
are
telling
not,
the truth.
his statements are not standing in one line with Israel's policies. This is as a matter of fact. Now, going back to what you quoted basically President Trump's plan. And President Trump's plan is speaking about making Gaza a better place. Gaza will be a better place without having a terror hub, without having the
Now, remember when Donald Trump wanted to make Gaza Rivera? You see, they are evil. They can't help it. I think God makes them do that. She just spent the last 10 minutes saying that how good they are. They don't want to kill the kid. They're not involved in ethnic cleansing. And then she goes to the plan that Donald Trump was just using it as a way to get the Arabs to pay for the reconstruction of Gaza, of thinking out the box by ethnically cleansing all the Palestinians from Gaza and build high-rises and call it and own it by the United States. They can't help it. There is a God.
Ground tunnel city without having people firing on Israeli cities. Just in the last 2 weeks, there were more rockets being fired from Gaza to Ashkelon, to some Israeli southern cities. We are not interested with any of that. And I just want to remind you, just in case you're so interested with finishing the war can finish today. If Hamas will surrender, if Hamas will make sure that no weapons in Gaza, if we'll see demilitarization of the Gaza Strip, and if our hostages are back home, the war will be ending today. I mean, just imagine that.
All right, but let me ask you though, but you accept that Israel has the strongest military in the Middle East, right? I am the proud owner of 2 cats, which are named after 2 Arsenal football legends. And like their owner, for an additional 50%, here to defend radical
that wants to destroy Israel.
I'm not here to defend that. Piers, for an additional 50% off your first order.
Let him get his commercial. He deserves it.
At smalls.com.
He gets it.
We have a strong military, but very vulnerable population that's been hit by a terror organization. We're a small country. We're a small country that its border being invaded.
Fine. I just asked you a question as to whether you have the strongest military in the Middle East. You accept you do?
We do, but at the same time, we're a very vulnerable country when we're surrounded by radical Islamists, including backed up by Iran,
here to defend radical
that wants to destroy Israel.
I'm not here to defend that. I'm not here to defend Hamas, I think a despicable terror organization. But you said there were 50,000 Hamas. Others have put the total figure at around 25,000, which begs the question, if after 18, 19 months now, you have been waging this ferocious war against 25, 26,000 terrorists, and you still haven't defeated them, you still can't get your hostages released, they're still not being released, it's clear to most people that your strategy is failing. But what you're doing is ramping up the attacks, ramping up the devastation, ramping up the clearing out of Gaza. You've got members of the cabinet openly saying they want to get rid of all the Palestinians and get them into another country. So it seems to everybody else that what you're actually doing is not winning any war against Hamas. In fact, many people think, including intelligence that the Americans have received, for every Hamas terrorist you've killed, they've already been replaced multiple times with people with the same ideology. And that would explain why you can't get the hostages out. And in fact, the hostages, the more you bombard Gaza, the more you would say that their own lives become imperiled. And the overriding picture, which is what's getting Israel so much opprobrium around the world, is that your strategy isn't working. There's no clear plan for what happens at the end of all this. Hamas is still clearly alive and well and thriving. Yes, you've killed another one of their leaders today, but you killed his brother, who was the architect of October the 7th months ago, and that didn't seem to make any difference to Hamas's ability to continue engaging in battle with you. And the argument remains, how many Palestinian civilian innocent lives, women and in particular children, are you prepared to kill as you continue going after Hamas when it doesn't appear that you're winning that battle, that strategy is failing?
Piers, how many Japanese children were killed under American attacks? And how many German children were killed under UK attacks in the Second World War? Listen.
Japan was a sovereign nation with a strong naval forces. It attacked Pearl Harbor, and we were not occupying Japan, and Japan was not occupying us. It was a war between nations with military, with air force, not a small area of 20 miles by 5 miles that has been under Israeli occupation and stranglehold for the last 57 years. There's a big difference. And stop comparing wars. You don't have no right to kill kids.
I mean, if you want to play a fair game, you need to understand how Western armies operated in the past. Israel is not anywhere near to the American attacks on Tokyo that killed 100,000 civilians, and not anywhere near to what the UK was doing in the Second World War. Now, when I'm looking about a strategy, I get to hear all the people criticize Israel today, including yourself, and then I'm asking you this question. If Israel finishes the war today and Hamas stays on our doorstep, what kind of future do you promise my children? A future that 7th of October will happen in...
I know, I promise you, go back to your country, go back to England. I'm sure you have that passport hiding someplace for safety. Or for a rainy day, go back home. The way for something to stop and get rid of Hamas, get rid of all this problem is go to the negotiation table, give these people their whatever's left of 22% of what's left of their country, give them a sovereign state to live on, and give them their independence. Then they have no reason to attack Israel. And if they do, we're all going to be against them. You understand? But as long as you are enforcing your occupation and subjugation of the Palestinian people and pretending that they are attacking you for no reason, in the real world right now in the United States, we're not living in it right now because of the idiots that are, if you say something, you're an anti-Semite, or if you say stop the genocide is. In international law, the Palestinians have every right to attack Israel. And October 7th, it was a natural reaction to an occupation. The only difference is the killing of civilians, which we're all against. Nobody wants to see dead civilians, whether it's Palestinians, whether it's Jews or Christians, whatever they are. Civilians are civilians. They are not part of the war machines. And I still have second ideas of what really took place on October 7th, who did the most killing. And Hannibal Doctrine was used effectively by Israel's military, where they burnt 400 people to crisp. And the H guys don't have that weapon to burn anybody to death. You understand?
Again and again, just like Hamas leaders promised, this is what you expect the Israelis or the Israeli leadership to accept.
Hamas should not be allowed to run a Welk stall at the end of all this. They should
so how do you achieve that? How do you achieve that?
Well,
who's volunteering there to demilitarize the Gaza Strip?
With respect, Ambassador, you clearly don't achieve it with the way that you're trying to achieve it. All you're achieving at the moment is making Israel more and more of a global pariah. When only a few days ago, you have 2 doctors in Gaza who have 10 children, and 9 of them are killed in a bombardment by your forces. That doesn't make people feel, oh, this is all going great.
9 children were killed while they were asleep And the world, the mass media, and the legislative of the United States wouldn't shut up over the 2 people who were killed in Washington, D.C., who worked for the Israeli embassy, who are adults, and it's wrong what happened, what took place. But why didn't you report that too? Aren't they human beings when you kill 9 brothers and sisters? That's what I'm saying.
It makes people think that you're waging a systematic destruction, not just of property and of land, but also of children. And that's what's happening. The percentage of children that you're killing compared to the percentage of you're killing of Hamas terrorists, what is it? Do you know? Do you
Piers,
know how
can
many
I tell you
children you've
something?
killed? Answer me that one question. Do you know how many Hamas terrorists you've killed and how many children you've killed? Do you know those 2 numbers?
I know the numbers that came from the IDF. I know the numbers that came from a very, very established
give me the
think tank.
Give me the 2 numbers.
Wait a second. We killed 30,000. We killed 30,000 terrorists in phase 1 of the war. Since the war is back, I don't have the numbers. But let me tell you one thing. We
how many children have you killed?
We never target civilians. So this question is irrelevant.
How many children have you killed?
Piers, Israel is not killing children. Israel is not killing children. Hamas is using them as human shields.
Israel is killing children every single day.
Piers, this is a blood libel.
It's a blood libel. Can't you hear? Why do they use these? They have these credit card of victimhood. That's anti-Semitism. No, it's not. I said it, then it is. It's a blood libel. You're telling us we're killing all these children. You are killing all these children. You are killing all these children. Everybody knows that. I know it.
You're putting on Israel. You know it's not true.
No, it's not actually. And what you're trying to do is be very weaselly with your words. The truth is, you are killing a lot of children. You would argue you're doing.
Why it's caused?
Hang on,
because
let me finish.
Hamas is using them as human shields, and you know that.
Let me finish my question to you. You are killing a lot of children on a daily basis. That is indisputable. My interesting question for you is, how come you know exactly how many Hamas terrorists you've killed, but you have no idea how many children you've killed?
Piers, I will give you the answer, because when you are accusing a country of killing children, it sounds to all the people that are listening to us as if Israel wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, let's kill innocent people now." This is not what Israel is doing. Israel
you are killing a lot of children. And my question is, how come you know how many terrorists you've killed?
Are you familiar with the international law? Are you familiar with that at all? Because the international humanitarian law says very clearly, as long as you're targeting civilian targets, you're allowed to attack hospitals that you know they're terrorists. No, but you're not answering my question. Israel is not deliberately killing children. And this accusation is a fake thing that you keep on saying again and again when you know we're a democratic country, cares about human life.
I just asked you a simple question.
At the same time, Hamas is deliberately using the children as human shields. And you know that.
You're 80 years old.
I don't deny anything you say about Hamas. They're everything you say they are, probably worse. I despise Hamas. They are a despicable terrorist organization.
So help us win this war if you're so despising Hamas. You're offering to surrender. You're not offering to win.
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
See what she's saying. Well, help us win this war. Don't say the truth, Piers. You've been good for 18 months. Why are you going to change on us right now? We need propaganda. We got to kill those kids.
This question for a purpose. I'm curious why you say you know exactly how many Hamas terrorists have been killed, but you have no idea how many children have been killed. Why is it you know one number, but not the other?
I'll give you the answer. Because in the end of the day, we never target civilians. We only target the terrorists.
Why don't you know the statistics?
And you can ask this question.
Are you saying no children have been killed in Gaza?
I didn't say that.
Are you saying that?
I didn't say that.
You know why she won't give the number? Because she knows it's a war crime. Because everything she's saying is recorded and can be used against them in the world court. She would never admit it. You could cut her tongue off and she would threaten to cut her hands off and she would never tell you the number. She'll gladly tell you that we killed 30,000 Hamas, but she won't tell you how many kids she killed. Because she knows that's being recorded and will be used against them in the international courts.
I said...
Well, what are you saying?
Piers, what I'm saying is Hamas needs to be blamed. Hamas needs to be
How many
blamed
have
for
been
any
killed?
child that is being killed in Gaza. Now, if you want to go into this propaganda of Israel is doing this and
It's not
that, you know,
propaganda. I'm
you
asking
know,
Propaganda
you
is
why
real,
you
bitch.
know how many terrorists you've killed, but you don't know how many children you've killed in the process.
I have
why
an
don't you
answer
know
because
that?
we targeted those terrorists and we never targeted any civilians. That's the answer, and this
But
is why
you know that
we
you know
have the
many
numbers.
thousands of but you know many thousands of civilians have been killed. You understand
Piers,
that, do you?
do you understand that you don't care about
Yeah,
my
answer.
children
Don't
and
keep
other
asking
Israeli
me
children
questions.
by letting 7th of
do.
October happen again and
I
again?
do. Oh, I do. Oh, I do. In fact, to my detriment, actually, in the Middle East for many, many months, when I was defending Israel's right to defend itself. But now we're at a point where more and more civilians are getting killed in collateral damage as you wage a war and a strategy and a plan which makes no sense to even your own former prime ministers who think you're committing war crimes. So don't just couch all this as propaganda by
It is.
people who just, well, okay, but again, I simply ask you one more time. Why is it you know how many Hamas terrorists you've killed, but you don't know how many children you've killed? Why is that?
As I said again, because in the end of the day, when you're accusing someone in
You don't
killing,
count one, but you count the
accuse
other?
someone in doing something deliberately while
how
Israel is
do
not
you
doing
know
it
the
deliberately.
numbers?
Can I accuse
How do
the
you know the
UK of
numbers?
killing German children during the war? You would have said
Stop
it's
playing
absurd.
whataboutery.
It's absurd.
Explain why you know
man.
one number, but you don't know the other.
She can't. She won't tell you that.
Now, everybody knows how much I enjoy my tea, and I'm very happy to say
your
that
tea.
today's show
We
is
love your
sponsored
tea.
and Feel the Difference. It's trusted by health experts, including Casey Means and Dr. Visit peaklife.com.
Moments in the UN history when Tom Fletcher was throwing a number of 14,000 babies are about to die, and in the end
Yeah,
of
he
the
got
day,
it
the
completely
BBC,
wrong and was
the
wrong.
BBC
He was
had to
wrong.
correct that. And this
He
is
was
part
wrong.
of the propaganda that Hamas is promoting.
Yes.
And I don't want Western media to follow up on Hamas propaganda.
Well, I didn't.
It's very simple.
So you're talking to a member of the Western media, and I didn't do anything with that report.
No, but
I
the
could see
BBC
immediate-
did, and then they had
Sorry,
to
I'm
take
not the
it back.
BBC. I'm not the BBC, and they were wrong. And he has now retracted it. He explained that actually he misread it. It was if the blockade went on for the whole year. We all know the reality. It was a mistake.
Yes, but
he shouldn't have
for
done
a
it.
day, it was
Yes,
the headline in
yes.
all Western media.
All right,
accusing
stop
Israel
playing the
in
kids.
fake
Get them out of the
things.
headline.
So we
Fine.
need to
So-
fight that. We need to
So
find the
once
fake.
again-
She's doing, she's grabbing her straws. Hey, trying to get rid of the interview without answering the fact. But Piers is determined. Piers knows that he has to get those Arab and Muslim audiences back. And they watch. They're very loyal. There's 2 billion Muslims out there.
Things that are happening out
Okay.
there.
I don't want to find any fake things. I want to get to some facts. You seem to have a very clear idea, Israel, of how many Hamas terrorists you've killed. You've said the number, but you have absolutely no idea how many children have died in the process. I simply ask you why. Why do
Piers.
the lives of the Hamas terrorists
Piers,
get recorded,
listen to me.
but you don't record the number of children you
I'm
killed?
willing here to give you the strategy about the war because this was the question you were
Why don't
asking.
you answer my question?
I'm giving you only the answers that I have.
Just
My
tell me why
answer
you
is,
know one number and not the other.
But the number makes a difference just if you're targeting civilians. If Israel is not targeting civilians,
Tell us how
according
many
to the
kids you
international
killed.
law,
Doesn't make
That's
any
it.
difference
Give a
to the
number.
number of children
Lie
who
like you
died.
lie all
It
the
does
time.
have
Just
a-
say
it
20.
has
way
a
you
difference
20 people.
according to the
But how do
international
you know about
humanitarian
the
law.
number of terrorists killed, but
Yeah,
you don't
imagine.
know how many children have been
And I'm
killed?
saying
How do
again-
you know
Fucking
one,
military expert.
not the other? Explain to me.
You can't control your eating
treat me
habits,
like
you
a village
fat
idiot.
fuck.
Why is it
According-
that you know one number, but you don't know the other? Explain
According to
me.
the international humanitarian law, it makes
Oh,
a lot of
Jesus
difference
Christ,
if you're
what the-
targeting civilians, if you're
not
targeting
talking about who
the
you're targeting.
legitimate war aims.
I'm
and-
not
and all the
talking about who
all
you're
the
targeting.
facilities.
I'm not saying you're deliberately targeting the children who've
Very
been killed.
good. So that's the only thing that we are discussing.
They are deliberately
No,
targeted.
it's
Don't say
not.
that, Briss.
Because you know how many terrorists you've killed, you say, but you
Because
have no
those
idea
are the
how
people
many
we
children.
targeted.
So how many children have died in the process? Why don't you know that number too?
Piers, please ask this question to the people that can give you the answer. I don't have the answer.
Who? Who has the answer?
Please don't ask me
Who
questions.
has the answer?
that-
Who has the answer?
I don't have the answer. And I will tell
You're
you
the
something.
Israeli ambassador to my country. Who else should I ask?
Well, you should ask one question. How do you make sure that the 7th of October won't be repeated? And
Here
this
we
is the
go,
question
7
you
October.
and everyone who criticizes Israel at the
They are
moment
good at
doesn't
branding
have the
shit.
answer to. And again,
Here's a question. Here's a
we are
question
not
for you.
denying
Why
the
don't-
fact that
why
war is
don't
a
you
bad
let-
thing, but we never
why don't
wanted
you let
this war.
Why don't you let international journalists into Gaza so they can report fairly and freely, without being led around by the IDF, let the journalists in because you banned them, and the only reason you continue to
the
ban
journalists
international
in. They
journalists
killed
from
200
going in there,
journalists
it's not
inside
because of
Gaza.
our safety, as you also quaintly put it. It's because you don't want the Western journalists to get in there and see what's really happening. Only you know why. Only the Israeli government knows why you want to continue banning journalists from international media organizations coming in at their own risk assessment and actually working out whether anything you're saying is true or not. And it may be if you let the international journalists in, well, let me just finish. It may be if you let them in, then they wouldn't just count the number of terrorists who are being killed. They'd be also able to record how many children are being killed, because it strikes me as utterly extraordinary that you, as the ambassador to my country, are able to say with complete clarity and certainty 30,000 Hamas have been killed, but you seem to have absolutely no idea how many children have died in the process. No idea. Or you have no interest. I don't know which one it is.
Piers, let me go back to your question about the journalists. I think in the end of the day,
let them in.
We are coming to the point where journalists will be allowed to get into Gaza as long as there is no risk for them. And you know that
it's got nothing to do with you, the risk to journalists.
It's
not your problem.
From my point of view, once there is no risk to their life, I'm sure they'll be allowed.
They're going to kill them. They have killed almost 200 Palestinian journalists who are the only voices who are telling the outside world of what's going on out inside there. Don't you notice that Western TVs don't use footages from the Al Jazeera? Remember the footage of that girl running around inside that fire in that house? Did you see that any place? I will bet you my whole everything I own. I bet you my life. That who's that? An Israeli child. I was running around through that house and it's on fire. It will be in every newspaper, every channel, cable, TV. They will have it on T-shirts on the walls of 7th Avenue. Shows you that human lives have value, of different values in the market of Western media. Palestinian life have no value at all.
Flannel ambassador, don't treat us like idiots, please. Yeah. We're not idiots. You're not doing it for our safety. You've banned the journalists so that they don't report on what is actually happening. Only you know why you're doing that. I don't know. Maybe you're doing everything completely fairly. Maybe it is the most moral war ever waged in history, as you keep saying. But the longer it goes on without you allowing journalists in, the less people believe that, and the more people believe you have something to hide.
Piers, there is just one question here, never received an answer. How do you promise to the Israelis that they won't have 7th of October being repeated again?
I got it. Give them their country and let them live free. Don't hold them under occupation. They just, Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem, that's what they left of their country. And all that stuff will end. They will have a military, they will have a constitution, they will have a police force, they will have everything. Right now, just a ragtag people fighting to independence, as every other group has done throughout history.
Everyone agrees that Hamas shouldn't control the Gaza Strip, as you just said.
Yeah.
Who will do the job? Who will volunteer to
demilitarize the Gaza
Strip?
You've been ignoring inside Ramallah.
Why don't you work? Here's my suggestion. Why don't you work harder on the diplomatic side to resolve this conflict, this war? And why don't you bring in all the people that can help resolve that, rather than continuing to blow everything up that you can see with your forces? Why don't you try and resolve things diplomatically, which in the end is how you got the other hostages out to date? So, it seems to me the bombardment strategy just doesn't work. And all you're doing is making Israel, a country, by the way, that I love, and I love Jewish people. It's got nothing to do with either the country or the people, but everything to do with the Israeli government, which has now got people like Smotrich out there very clearly, very brazenly, and very unambiguously dictating a term of genocide on the Palestinian people, where he wants them all out of Gaza. Now, do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's the solution?
Piers, I'm not speaking for Bezalel Smotrich. I'm not his spokesperson. I'm the Israeli ambassador.
What do you think?
And I think whatever the government thinks, because I'm ambassador, I'm representing a government here.
How are we supposed to know what the government thinks when he's out there saying that?
I represented the last 4 governments that Israel had. And let me tell you something. There is not even one leader in Israel today that is running for office, whether he's in the opposition or in government, that believes that Hamas should stay in power. And we released 197 hostages just because we had a
Hamas,
combination
Hamas.
of a diplomatic pressure together with a military pressure. Nothing would have happened from a goodwill. This is a terror organization. They don't do things from goodwill. There is no goodwill in Hamas. And because you know it, again, I'm disappointed that some people lose patience. Can you lose patience in the middle of the Second World War and just let the Nazi regime to win? I don't think it would have been a good idea.
I tell you what I've lost patience with.
In the middle of the Second World War.
I've lost patience when you start starving kids. I lose patience when you, as an ambassador,
So this is a lie. This is a complete lie. You know we get aid into Gaza.
It's not a lie.
How do we starve people if we let aid in?
When you launch a 3-month blockade of an already impoverished, hungry people who are bunkering down from nightly bombing raids, when you do that, you will starve people. You will starve.
The intention was not to let Hamas get over and take over the aid. And there was no other solutions. No one was offering a better mechanism.
But it was the consequence of your actions. Do you accept that?
As I said again, Israel never was planning to starve anyone, and our actions are speaking more than our words, because in the end of the day, tons of aid got into Gaza for months and months and months. And now I think it's time for all of us.
I literally saw footage yesterday, or today it was, of literally thousands of Palestinians desperately fighting. One lost their life as they're fighting for scraps of food. Do you think that's the behavior of well-fed people who are not actually starving hungry? Do you think?
You're evil people.
I think what I've seen in the last
who have been starved now for 3 months.
What I've seen in the last few months, I've seen, first of all, in the last 2 days, I've seen mechanisms that works. I've seen happy families that receive the aid, and they know.
He told her, don't you think that what they did when they stormed the food centers is the behavior of well-fed people? Well, at least, we got new mechanism right now, and we are distributing food. They haven't disturbed nothing. First of all, you're not supposed to use food as a weapon. You're doing everything you accuse the Nazis of doing. I read history. I said, the Nazis used food against the Jewish in the ghettos in Poland, and for fun, they will throw scraps at them and see how they're going to fight in front of them for the food. You're doing the same thing. I don't know. Maybe you are the Nazis that escaped from Germany. They didn't go to Argentina. You guys might be scared when we don't even know that.
Know that now the mechanism is so much better, and it gives family by family box of aid,
everything you do, you're
being
liars,
protected
you're
by
hypocrites,
American
you are
companies.
evil
I think
by
it's
nature.
so much better than what used to be.
All right.
And it would have been nice if the UN organizations would have joined the distribution rather than boycotting this system and just letting the criticism on Israel to continue without them playing along with the new mechanism. It could have been really helpful.
Just to remind you, the most savage criticism of Israel is coming from your own former prime ministers, not one, but two, and former leaders of the IDF. It's not coming from necessarily people like me, even though I am getting increasingly critical because I find the answers I'm getting just increasingly ridiculous. Out of fairness, because we know each other, I'm going to give you one last chance just to tell me, even a ballpark figure, of how many children have died in Gaza.
Piers, I think I'm very famous for saying the truth. And the truth is that I don't know. If I would have known the number, I wouldn't have hired.
She's famous. I drink some water for that. Did you just say she's famous? She's known. Fame is when the whole world knows you, and known is when your friends or people that you deal with. She's famous for telling the truth. She's been lying for the last hour and avoiding and dodging and wobbling everywhere and leaving. She cannot. You can't defend
why do you
genocide.
keep on asking the same question again and again?
Because I don't understand how you can know how many terrorists you've killed, but you don't know how many civilians you've killed. Why do you know one but not the other?
As I said again, I think that it's totally irrelevant to the main question the humanitarian international law is asking.
The international
humanitarian law is never about civilians getting killed. It's only about who are you targeting. And if you're doing a legitimate warfare.
Are you happy that people are going to watch you as an ambassador to your country say that it's irrelevant how
Go look
many
at the
children have been
comments.
killed?
Piers
It's not what I
Morgan, go
said,
look at
Piers,
it.
and you're
They
totally distorting
murdered
my
her in the
words. I said,
comments.
according to the international law, if you want to check if war is fair or not, the only thing you check is the targets that a country that is fighting, whether they're
All right, but just to
targeting
be clear,
the
just to be
militants
clear-
and not targeting civilians. This is what I
Fine.
said.
Does the-
and please
does
don't twist my words.
Can you confirm this then, given you have no idea how many children have been killed? Can you tell me, are the IDF under specific instructions from the government or from their commanders to only count the number of Hamas terrorists they kill and to completely ignore how many children they're killing?
Never. Never. This is not the case.
So why you don't have the numbers?
And
do
the
they count-
case is
do they count-
that the IDF.
Do they count civilian deaths?
But the IDF has one mission: to work according to the international law when it's fighting a moral war. And even your
Right.
own historian,
What
Professor
moral
Andrew
war? You
Roberts,
fight an
said
occupation.
when he sees those circumstances of Gaza, this is the lowest ratio of terrorists versus civilians. So this is your own
here we go with the
historian,
numbers, mathematics.
well-respected
How do you know?
military
How do you
historian that
know?
is saying that
How do you
about
know?
our war.
Sorry, with respect, how do you know, given you have no idea how many children you've killed?
As
How do
I
you know
said,
it's the lowest
Professor
ratio?
Andrew Roberts did is
How do you
in-
know it's the lowest ratio? You don't know how many children you've killed.
But
how
as
do you know?
but in the end of the day,
You've
it's not
admitted you've
about
no
it's
idea.
not
End of
just
the day,
about
the fat fuck
children.
with the
When
end
you're
of the day.
when you're comparing, listen,
I hear that
Piers,
at
here
the end
you're
of the
really
day,
creating like the
I'll
totally
smack my
wrong
friend who
picture.
says that in front of me.
People,
Really?
in the end of the day,
I think people
we
can make
know
their own
End of the
minds
day.
what
in the
picture
end
I'm
of the
creating.
day, we know who are
Yes.
civilians. Civilians includes also mature people that are.
How do you know the ratio of civilian to Hamas deaths if you have
We
no
know,
idea
they know.
how many
As I
civilians
said,
have
we
been killed?
gave. You asked me about children. I don't have the answer specific about children, but I do have the answer about civilians versus combat.
But you're aware that it is reported that over 20,000 children have now been killed. You're
As
aware
I
of
said,
that, right?
this has not been backed up with facts, and I cannot approve
Okay.
this number.
Right, but you know how many terrorists you've killed.
Yes, this is the last data
Great.
we received from the IDF.
Okay, so you're only getting the data about the terrorists, not the
I
civilians.
think a proper army should know that he's doing a fair war by working according to the international humanitarian law.
Right.
And this is what the
Nah, you
IDF
do-
is
you're
doing. And if
breaking
you would
every
have
law in
known
the book.
how much the legal advisor are working hard whenever we're going to any military
People are either deaf-toned or I don't know, man. I'm trying to understand these Zionists, man. Your prime minister is wanted by the international. He has a warrant for his arrest for war crimes by the international community, the international court justice. Your former defense minister is wanted by the international court for crime against humanity. What are you talking about? Are we living in the same world? Oh my gosh, man. Wallahi, wallahi.
operation. I just want to tell you, a few years ago, Israel had the opportunity to make sure all Hamas leadership will be eliminated by one action, but we didn't do anything to do that. That probably would have prevented October 7th.
And I'm going to tell you why. You want to know why, my dear friends? The reason they did not kill Hamas at that time is because Netanyahu and the Likud government saw Hamas as an indirect ally against the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah. That's why they kept asking international donors to give them money, and the Israeli government would take that money in suitcases, and deliver it to Hamas. That's why they didn't kill them. These people have not even an ounce of truthness or honesty in their blood. It is mind-boggling that they lie and lie. They're gonna think they're gonna lie and lie. You are living in the days of the iPhone. You cannot lie no more. Nobody watches MSNBC, CNN, all your allies and all your friends over there.
Because we knew too many civilians would have been involved. So Israel is very cautious when it acts. Israel doesn't target civilians. And in the end of the day, you need to
just targets,
understand that this is our children's
very
life here,
weapons-nosed.
our security and our defense. No Israeli
your
wants to
children's lives-
face
security.
another
You'll
terror
never have.
attack like
After
the
what you
7th of
did.
October.
Your children's lives are clearly very important to you. I'm just curious why Palestinian children's lives aren't.
It's not
as
what I'm
Thank you,
saying,
man.
but
God bless you,
unfortunately,
Piers.
Hamas doesn't care about the children.
Yes, blame it
Hamas
on
is
the
the one who's
Hamas.
using them as human shield. And
Ghostbusters!
if you would have looked at the reality in Gaza, you would have said, this is a monstrous leadership that wants
You know what? They were blockaded from 2005. My American friends, my dear friends in America, I know you've been in You've been lied to by your media for the last 50, 60 years. All you have to do is Google now. Just Google what food were not allowed into Gaza from 2005. You will see sometimes chocolate, toilet paper, newspaper, diapers, anything they can, sometimes just out of fucking fuckery. Even chocolate is considered against their national security.
The reality in Gaza is you've completely destroyed. The reality in Gaza is you've destroyed the place. You've killed tens of thousands of civilians in the process of killing. We don't know how many terrorists. You say 30,000. I cannot understand how you know that number, but have no idea how many children have died as well. But you say that. That's fine. If you're happy with that position, that's fine. But the truth is you are destroying Gaza, and you have senior members of Netanyahu's government in his cabinet at senior level on the record now saying the policy is to clear them all out. Clear all the Palestinians out and get them out of Gaza.
And as the Israeli ambassador, I'm saying this is not the government's policy. And this is on policy, I can tell you clearly, the policy is to make sure Gaza won't be a threat on Israel.
Well, then you should get him fired for spreading disingenuous lies which sound like genocide. Shouldn't you? Otherwise, if you don't, we have to assume that is the government policy.
I'm saying again, the government's policy is being carried by the Prime Minister, by the Foreign Minister, by the Defense Minister. Those are the three people that are actually carrying the policy as a matter of a fact. And I think you just enjoy quoting those things, but you know that Israel is delivering.
I don't enjoy any of this, Ambassador. I don't enjoy any of this. I think this war should end now. I think your strategy
without having
is
security to Israel,
and it should end
now.
Without security to Israel,
what's your security?
without the hostages coming back.
You need a better strategy. You need a plan that can work. You need a plan for after the war. The growing belief is that your Prime Minister Netanyahu, he has no incentive to stop this war. The moment he does, 70% of Israelis hold him accountable for what happened in the first place on October the 7th. So he'll be out of his job. Then he's facing corruption charges. So he'll be in a courtroom where he may go to prison. Where's the incentive for that leader to bring this war to an end? There isn't one, which is why we've got where we've got to. That is the cold, hard reality of where we are. And that's why your own Prime Minister, that's why your own former Prime Ministers are turning on this strategy and this government and its policies. And you know it, and I know it. It's not. Don't worry about what I say.
Piers, I'm
just an angry journalist. You've got ex-prime ministers of Israel who say you're committing war crimes, and if you want to prove you're not, let the journalists in, and we can work it out for ourselves.
Piers, let me just make a final comment, because you were saying a lot. So I want to say one thing. Israel doesn't like fighting. This is our sons, brothers, and husbands that are fighting this war. No one has an interest to lose his business and to fight for 600 days unless it's really existential threat. And Gaza has become existential threat because of what happened, because they're being backed up by Iran. And we're not going to let it repeat, even if we lose your sympathy. And we need to win this war. And Israel will do everything to make sure Hamas won't control the Gaza Strip. And I don't get to hear from anyone, including the leaders of Europe, a better plan of how to dismantle Hamas besides fighting. And this is where I'm concluding my conclusion. The war can end up today.
You don't need the
Hamas
foreign
will
leaders. I
surrender,
could do it to you guys.
bring our hostages back.
Okay. Ambassador Hotovelli, I appreciate you coming on Uncensored. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, my thanks to Israel's ambassador to the United Kingdom. Listening to that was Mustafa Barghouti, Secretary General of the Palestinian National Initiative, who joins me now.
Okay, that's all I wanted you guys to see. Gonna just shy. I'm gonna do the clock. Hey, here I am. Okay, let me fix myself up here. I look getting lovely. You saw that? That was a crazy interview, man. You know, this is what Piers Morgan should have done 18 months ago. Instead of wasting that time, they have every right to defend themselves. What are you defending? What took you so long, my friend? What took you so long, my brother? Huh? You took a long time to get to the point of that these people came in. We knew that the normies like us, we knew what was going on before you knew it. Anyway, in closing, you saw the interview The problem with the truth and human decency. Zionists, like I told you in the beginning of my monologue, are a criminal entity that is a racist. What is it called? Ideology. It was once equated with racism in the United Nation. They had to reverse, the money. But what I'm trying to tell you at the end of the day, this week, a battalion or brigade was boasting that they destroyed 461 homes. They are walking in Gaza and destroying homes. You know what they do? This is the final solution for the Palestinians. Two things going to happen. If they can't get rid of them, they're going to create an environment like a Mad Max, where they're going to have gangs and things of that nature rule over the Palestinians and kill each other, and they have them locked up in one area. That's what they're going to do to them. I'll give you, for example, what they're doing. There's a three-pronged strategy by the Zionists to get rid of the Palestinians. The first one is to get rid of them from Gaza. The second one is to take as much land as they can from the West Bank, and they're doing it. They just burned every 2-3 weeks. They burn a whole village and chase the Palestinians out of their homes and take over. There's a more evil plan that's taking place. It's inside proper Israel by the Jewish Arabs or the Arab Jews. I mean, there's no such. The Israeli Arabs or the Palestinian Arabs from 1948. What they did is that crime is going crazy over there, like mafia-like crimes, killing is every day. They introduced these gangs and these people into the Arab neighborhoods on purpose, and they got a handoff policy by the police department that's really supposed to protect the people there. So they have these killings, they're revenge killings, and the majority of these gangs are from the West Bank. These are mostly informants for the Israeli government who got caught, and they had to take them out. All of a sudden, they turn them against the Arab population inside Israel. They're trying to get them to migrate to outside the country because they have Israeli airports. They can go to any other country. Now, what's going to happen? When you do such a collective genocide against women, men, and children to this point, it's a debt. It's a generational debt that Israel will have to pay eventually, because you cannot forgive such behavior. No human beings should forgive such behavior or allow the state to exist after what Israel did. But we live in a different time where lobbyism and things of that nature are the rulers of the day. But what I'm going to tell you is that Israel is like a drowning man. The Zionists, it said Zionism has failed the Jews in Israel, because Zionism, after 120 years since they started migrating to Palestine, they did not succeed in clearing out the Palestinians from their land. There are 7.3 million Jews, 7.3 Palestinians, 50-50 still. After the killing, the migration from Russia, after everything they have done, unbelievably, they still cannot get that majority. And the majority is always under danger of becoming a minority because they have more babies than the Israeli Jews have. Anyway, you saw what we saw. We saw when we have real journalists, when they talk to them and they press them on honesty and truth, then we could get someplace. If Piers Morgan had did this about 6-7 months ago, 8 months ago, he could have saved some lives. I don't know why he got brave to say this. Maybe because the former Israeli prime ministers are calling it a war crime. Israeli IDF, former IDF generals and soldiers are calling it a war crime. Israelis themselves are getting, not the population, believe it or not. 82% think everything is okay. I'm talking about leaders and former military leaders. They said it's a genocide. What we're doing, they're destroying the country. Anyway, until we meet next time, this is Omar from the American Me podcast. I didn't even see somebody call because it doesn't ring. Oh, sorry, that's the thing. And it doesn't matter. We had a good show, I hope, today. I see you in 2 days because it's a one day show, one day not. I see you and I appreciate you. Goodbye.